The safety of the environment is one of the major challenges of our time. Stay tuned for FCTA Environment Update as we present a feature on the role of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board (AEPB) in protecting the environment in Nigeria's capital city. The Minister of Environment, Hadiza Lafia, says corporates involved in the intercepted vessel laden with toxic waste would face life imprisonment upon conviction. She also says the toxic waste-laden containers on board MV Marivia Monrovia be shipped back to the port of origin in the UK, while the owners of the vessel would pay a fine of $1 million to the federal government. The federal government's task force on flood disaster intervention began a tour of areas affected by flood in Cross River State, showing concern on the havoc caused by the recent flood disasters in the country. Leader of the task force on flood disaster intervention from the Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. David Atowo, says the federal government is committed to preventing future occurrence and outbreak of diseases among internally displaced persons. Also, victims of the flood disaster in Bauchi State are to personally collect their share of the 400 million naira donated to the state by the federal government.
Abuja is a beautiful city and the preferred tourist destination in Africa. Let us keep our environment clean by trimming flowers and cutting grass around us regularly. Dispose of our refuse in waste bins and stop all forms of environmental pollution because they are injurious to our health. Report bleeding manhole to the appropriate authorities and disease from illegal connection to sewage lines. Hawking, trading, and begging on the streets of Abuja are prohibited. So also is prostitution. Do not harass AEPB staff members in the line of duty. If you are caught, you will face the law. If we cultivate a culture of a clean environment and pay our environmental service charge promptly, Abuja will remain the pride of all Nigerians.
This message is proudly sponsored by the FCTA United Nations Development Assistance Framework UNDAF 2. The safety of the environment is one of the major challenges of the time, which nations have tried to tackle spiritedly because of its far-ranging consequences on the sustenance of life on the planet. Since the Rio Conference on the Environment in 1992, which held under the auspices of the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, Nigeria has braced to the challenge of tackling some of the challenges head-on. These efforts notwithstanding, observers say that Nigeria's environmental problems are still very visible, considering the level of pollution and land degradation in some parts of the Federation. Minister of Environment Hadiza Lafia says Nigeria's environment has suffered extensive damage arising from human and natural causes. Recently, the 8th National Council on Environment met in Kaduna to appraise Nigeria's efforts at tackling problems related to the environment with the theme Transforming the Nigerian Environment. That meeting led to the commencement of the construction of the Abuja Green City with Zero Emission in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), a first-in-Africa project with the potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and thus boost Nigeria's voluntary emission reduction.
Abuja, like I've always said, has the best type of planning which has respected the greenways. We don't encroach on them. We make sure they are left intact. And what is the purpose of these greenways? They are to provide natural drainways. So you can hardly find flooding in Abuja. I'm not talking of all these artificial drains you feel they've constructed by the roads, just to protect those roads, but general city setting has provided these particular greenways to drain the city and protect it against possible flood. And this is where Abuja specially stands out. The integrity must be protected, because certainly if you block any of these waterways, then it will affect the entire city. this much we are struggling to make sure that we maintain it. Of course, there are some bit of rascality here and there, but we're also ensuring that nobody tampers with it. But fundamentally, for the ordinary man on the streets, of course, we also have issues like pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, and all these things. We are here to ensure that everything maintains a balance so that everybody will live in a safe and healthy environment.
When the Federal Capital Territory was conceived, it was to be, or it is, to be a first-class city, comparable with other first-class cities in the world. And that informed the organization or the drawing of the master plan of the FCT. And the drawing of the master plan or bringing out of the master plan is one thing. The implementation and monitoring of the implementation to ensure that is executed appropriately is another thing entirely. I believe that is what informed the FCT administration to come up with an agency of government to oversee the activities in the environment in order was to ensure that developmental processes, the execution of the Abuja Master Plan is in line with environmental sustainability. In other words, there's an essential linkage between development, be it economic, be it political and otherwise, with the environment. In other words, there's a carrying capacity of the environment. So the Abuja Environmental Protection Board is established to ensure that that essential linkage, is being observed in developmental processes in the FCT.
The Abuja Environmental Protection Board is the regulatory body statutorily charged with the responsibility of protecting and managing the FCT environment. The mandate of the agency is to provide a clean, hygienic, and sustainable environment for the well-being of the present and future generations, in line with the vision of the Federal Capital Territory Administration to build a world-class city comparable to other first-class cities in the world. AEPB is therefore committed to a national environmental policy that will ensure sustainable development basis and proper management of the environment. This demands positive and realistic planning that will secure a balance between human needs against carrying capacity of the FCT environment. The AEPB, among other functions, are responsible for waste collection and disposal, landfill development, monitoring of cleaning contractors, maintenance of the central sewer lines, evacuation of septic tanks, drainage, stormwater control, maintenance of treatment plants and aerators, rehabilitation of degraded sites, management of incidental open spaces, cemeteries, etc., conservation of biodiversity, house-to-house inspection, vector and pest control services, and the abatement of nuisance in the Federal Capital Territory. These functions are carried out in collaboration with the 6 area councils. On the driver's seat at the AEPB is a man who is passionately policing the Abuja environment. He graduated from the Ahmadu Bello University with a Master of Science in Urban and Regional Planning, seasoned town planner, and a former Director Development Control, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Issa M. Shuaibu. He has continued to propagate the ideal of doing the right things to protect the environment all the time.
You cannot go and cite, for instance, a library that requires a serene and quiet environment near a market. You cannot take a clinic that requires a serene environment for patients to be by the market. All these things are what determine how you spatially arrange these uses. Or take a motor park to a residential area. It is wrong. And where, we deviate from those provisions, which will cause problem for us, you will see the consequences on environment. You will see overcrowding, you will see noise, you will see other forms of nuisances that are affecting the general well-being of residents. FCT's SDAs were all here to satisfy the yearnings of people that live in Abuja. We cannot fold our arms because we want to please other Nigerians. You come from other places and inconvenience residents. Then we have failed in our mandate if we do not say stop.
Up next, an insight into the inner workings of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board as we hear from the heads of departments on their functions and challenges. Stay with us.
This Abuja fine no be small. Now you make plenty tourists them they like to visit this our city. Because of that, we must to make sure say everywhere they clean every time. Make we they cut grass and flower them we don't grow for our house. Throw away dirty and yama inside dustbin. No spoil air with black smoke. That one fit cause sickness for body. If you see sock away we don't full, make you call Abuja Environmental Protection Board quick. No follow them fight oh. Now they work then they do. Now offense to sell market for road, they beg or even do opio for night. If they catch you, you go hear amo. Make we join hand together with Abuja Environmental Protection Board to see say Abuja dey clean well. Make we pay our service charge every month to make sure say Abuja dey cha-cha.
Now the FCTA United Nations Development Assistance Framework, UNDAF 2, they bring on this message.
My fellow Nigerians or Abuja citizens, it is very critical that you assist us so that we can assist you. You need to do the right things so that we can also equally do the right thing. Start managing this waste right from your household. Make sure you provide proper containers for your house to collect this waste and make sure you dispose of it properly. Don't allow all these scavengers to come and destroy your waste bin. You are the owners of these waste bins. Make sure you maintain them and make sure people don't abuse them. Because at the end of the day, you will end up buying them. So please, just make sure you collect your waste properly. If necessary, use plastic bags. Tie the bags properly before you put them into the waste bin. When we come, it's a lot easier for us to remove them. But we assure you of improved service if you can provide us this cooperation.
The Abuja Environmental Protection Board is administered by a governing board chaired by the representative of the FCT minister and other members including the director, chief executive officer. There is also a management committee comprising of the director and heads of departments and critical units. The board has 5 operational departments, namely Waste Management and Sanitation, Environmental Health and Safety, Environmental Monitoring, Planning, Research and Statistics, Compliance Monitoring and Enforcement, Environmental Conservation. In line with the objectives and functions of the board, the Department of Waste Management and Sanitation is vested with the control of removal and disposal of liquid and solid wastes.
There are 2 major divisions within the Department of Waste Management and Sanitation: liquid waste management and solid waste management. Liquid waste management is in charge of the operations and maintenance of the Wupa wastewater treatment facility, while as well as the maintenance of the main sewer lines within the city system itself. The solid waste management department, or division rather, is responsible for collection, transportation, and disposal of solid waste within the FCC. That includes litter control on the streets of Abuja, waste collection from various homes and offices and what have you, transportation of that waste to the dump site, management of the dump site itself, and any future treatment that the waste could be used for.
The Compliance Monitoring and Enforcement Department is a co-operational department of the board with the responsibility of ensuring compliance with environmental standards and regulations.
To effect arrest and the subsequent prosecution of all kinds of offenders who are apprehended at such locations. Generally, what we are aiming at is the zero tolerance of all nuisances within the environs of the city. Through our public enlightenment units, the PRNRs, they've been on the air, newsprints and all these things, educating the public on the ills, the do's and don'ts, all these are such activities. In addition to that, we do investigate complaints from the general public. Where such complaints come, we don't just rush to conclusion. We make our proper investigations before we take any necessary action, because there are some people who are, because of one reason or other, that they have personal grudges. To avoid such things, make proper investigation. Where we find the fault, we abet that person, follow up which then the enforcement person will come in to enforce it. Our activities, we do it in collaboration with a lot of sister agencies, the NGOs, the SDS, the police, who are assisting us to carry out our activities day in, day out.
The Environmental Conservation Department seeks to minimize the impacts of development on the environment through sustainable use of the natural resources and promotion of global best practices and adaptable technologies.
A major function is to conserve the environment, the natural environment and the ecosystems, to ensure effective functioning, and also to minimize the impacts of development on environment through sustainable use of the natural resources, and also to decrease vulnerability and improve adaptation capacity among the local communities associated with things like climate change. And we're also involved in management of the cemeteries within the FCT. The FCT, there are a lot of water bodies in and out of it, so it's a function to manage what happens to these water bodies, how the activities around them is affecting them, and then to control. And then under the eco-compliance, basically it's management of the urban trees. Notice that the FCC in particular, we have a lot of trees planted specifically maybe along the roadsides and then in some other areas. Even the trees within people's premises, as in your houses, it's part of our duty to manage them. And then ecological restoration, we have programs to ensure that areas or environments that have been blighted or degraded, we plan the restoration of it.
The Environmental Health and Safety Department of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, AEPB, has the responsibility to protect the environment from all factors capable of jeopardizing the health of citizens of the FCT, and has been severally involved in community sanitation exercises across the territory.
We make sure that the sanitation of the environment is well taken care of, because mainly we have seen that poor sanitation increases the poor health of the people of any community at all. So for that reason, we take it seriously that people must take care of the sanitation of, if not for every area around their place, their immediate environment, and especially where they reside. Very, very important. And if they do that, they will increase their health status in the society. And that is one of the things we do. Then secondly, we also make sure that that thing is maintained. How do we ensure that it is maintained? We carry out what we call house-to-house inspection of these houses. In the olden days, they called them dubageries, those people that look after houses, go to inside people's residences and see the way they live. You will be surprised, you will be amazed that some people share their rooms with animals, which is very, very unhygienic. And the hygiene of the people is of utmost importance to us. And if we continue to guide them, to direct them the best way they can manage their environment, by so doing, we reduce the incidences of diseases sicknesses, and even death.
The Department of Environmental Monitoring, Planning, Research and Statistics is charged with the responsibility of securing a sustainable environment by monitoring and control of air, water and soil pollution, controlling environmental degradation, environmental impact assessment of development projects, environmental auditing, and collation maintenance of a data bank for the board. The department also conducts and coordinates the board's programs and budget preparation.
All the departmental information, as this board is concerned, is being collated by the Planning, Research and Statistics Division. And if there is any referral concerning research, students coming in for research or anything, is that division that collates and coordinates that. They have useful information on timely basis to release, as it's been directed from the Office of the Director on what to do. They have it to give out. And then at times we have Bureau of Statistics coming in to ask for information on what have we done, what is the board doing about this one, how far, and then this division is the point of call where they get such information. They even get a weekly report from other departments to put into their database. They just get data on what is going on timely basis for the board. And they also serve as also the information division, information technology, because we have well-equipped officers. We have a lot of projects going on. Many of them just continue with their project without due regard to environmental issues. And then when this is being distorted, we have problems, and then they impact negatively on the environment, as if there is nobody to monitor. And that is why the division monitors and ensures that they conduct an assessment or carry out an assessment where the board, as a regulator, intervene and then collate the report and try to assess it and see where the fault is, and also advise as appropriate what should be done. They have the capability to stop any project at any level.
All the departments of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board work together to guarantee a sustainable environment for residents. They also face huge challenges.
Even when you are creating awareness and you are educating people, people will think that you are imposing yourself to their privacy. Why should you come to teach me this? Why should you come to tell me about sanitation? You understand? That is the thinking of so many people. I'm not saying all the people in the society. I'm saying about so many people in the society. And that is one of the things that have made our job so difficult, that whenever they see us, they start frowning their faces. They won't give you audience.
Some people are in the habit of protecting the offenders. We have cases of where people burn our vehicles. They attack our people. They break their legs. They are wounded. They are thrown stones. We have incidents of where a copper who was attached to our board was killed.
First and foremost is the population explosion. There are so many people coming into the FCT, that the existing infrastructure, so to say, is not able, to cater for. In other words, FCT is like the land flowing with milk and honey. Everybody just wants to come into the FCT, and with the recent insecurity, it's like FCT is a safer heaven. So a lot of people are coming in, whether they have something to do or not. And is a challenge to the existing infrastructure, existing services are not seemingly able to, cater for such people. So that's quite a challenge. So it has its negative and positive. From the positive, it depicts that Abuja is working. It depicts that Abuja is safe. It depicts that Abuja is offering some hope, for numerous citizens, of our country. But from the negative perspective, we find out that there's, a stretch on existing infrastructure, and there's like a competition between human beings and the existing infrastructure. And when food is meant for, 2 people and the 6 people shows up, that's a layman explanation of what is going on now.
Buses competing and hawkers competing for space that should have been used by pedestrians, I think is unfair. The consequence of all these multiple irrational activities is additional waste. These traffic hold-ups, they create opportunities for hawkers that we don't want to put there. And they provide cover for them. When you pursue a hawker and start, what do you call doing janglova all between vehicles? Let me just use some crude words. Acrobatics in between vehicles because you want to catch a hawker. It's not right. Because it does not create order. A chaotic traffic creates disorder. And when there's disorder, people that thrive in a disorderly environment, they flourish and supersede orderliness. And when this occurs, what happens? There's a breakdown of orderliness. Security challenges are there. Noise and so many other environmental consequences. At the end of the day, it falls back to the Abuja Environmental Protection Board. And that's why I want people to understand. Sometimes it's like we are jack of all trade, because it is us that it affects. If there's orderliness, environmental problems will reduce.
Join us next week for the update and tour around the grounds of the Wupa Sewage Water Treatment Plant as we look at waste management in a mega city like Abuja. We also get to meet the cute and friendly animals that have found a home there.